Ooh, ancient province.
Hi everyone, Josh from Ancient Province Games saying hello. Happy to be back on YouTube with a new video. You may be wondering what that video is about given the title, and well, it's about my experience streaming for the first time on Twitch, and as you can tell, it did not go well. Now, I don't want to blame anybody but myself for this. Twitch was fine. Twitch has a great system. Twitch was working exactly as it should be, and the broadcasting program I was using also was working perfectly. No, the problem was with me and all sort of my expectations about how I would be able to perform in a live broadcast and how I would be able to deliver the content that I wanted to talk about while also playing a game at the same time. Turns out that I really like to focus while I'm playing games, and I don't like to talk that much, which is tough if you want to stream. And my gameplay was bad. I wasn't able to talk about the subject the way I wanted to. It was just a bad experience for me personally overall in terms of the output, in terms of what the product was, what the content ended up being. It was an excellent learning experience, though. I have learned a lot from that experience and from the embarrassment and the frustration that went with it. And I'll talk a little bit about that, but I do want to, of course, mention the type of content that I was trying to produce. See, what I want to do with Ancient Province Games is talk about game design, maybe some dad stuff now that I'm a dad, but really, I want to talk about religion in games, and I was trying to talk about the way Biomutant is throwing together all these different concepts, like the concept in Eastern religions of yin yang, and then you have the little angel and demon that pop up on your shoulder when you're making a moral decision, which is very Abrahamic as opposed to Eastern. So it's just like the game itself mashes a bunch of things together. It seemed like the spiritual direction they were going in had influences that aren't necessarily coherent when they are all put together. Yin yang is not as simple as a good bad duality where one side wants to bring chaos and destruction and the other side is all about peace and community and happiness. The active principle is good, but also the passive principle is good. The initiating principle is good, but also the receptive principle is good. Yin and yang are complementary. They're not contradictory. They go together in traditional Eastern religious and philosophical thought. And in the Abrahamic faiths, at least Christianity, I'll say, evil and good are opposed. They're not complementary. You don't need one to have the other. In fact, in a traditional Christian understanding, evil is considered sort of a parasite on the good. And, mashing these two things together, as I think Biomutant seems to do, I've only played, 10, 11 hours, so I haven't seen everything yet. But mashing these things together, it doesn't seem like the best way to have a coherent spiritual theme. And, Biomutant has been criticized as lacking coherence for all its ambition. But I'm going to release another video talking about the way I see religion in Biomutant. I want to play it some more before I do that to get a fuller picture. I could be mistaken. Maybe things are pulled together differently in the story. Maybe the narrator has some lines that'll shed some light on things differently. So I'm going to do some more gameplay and see what I can discover. But I also want to talk about my personal experience with streaming and the educational value of my failure. Failure is a great teacher, and being a teacher, I try to let my students know that. I don't always succeed doing that, but I know it's a great teacher, and I know based on the experience I had after streaming, which included some surprising sleeplessness, I know that that's not the way I want to deliver my content, at least not right now. I'm not giving up on streaming. I do want to do it at some point, but it's very unnatural for me to be essentially performing to an audience that's not there and an audience that I can't see. So, a lot of streamers who are successful tell first-time streamers in their advice videos, you have to keep talking. You have to be willing to perform to zero viewers, an audience that's not there. And it's tough for me to do that while also play the game competently. I'm dying all the time, as maybe you're seeing in the footage right now. I'm just boom dead, and these battles that and the character that I've been playing off camera, I would have no problem with. But it's the pressure of trying to perform, and I think that pressure was taking the joy out of playing the game for me. I was thinking about, I set up the streaming schedule. I wanted to stream 5 nights a week. I had all these expectations I put on myself, and contemplating that at midnight as I was trying to get some sleep, I, it just filled me with dread and almost disgust for games, which is something I love. I started this company originally to make games. That's still on the back burner. Let's say I do not have the facilities, the skills, or the necessary financial resources to make tabletop games as I originally wanted to make, and I don't have the ability to program good enough to make computer games. But now we're going to talk about gaming commentary, that sort of thing. And that's the direction that Ancient Province is going to be going in now, because that's something that I can do from home relatively easily. It doesn't take a lot of money beyond what I already invested in my failed attempt to become a streamer on Twitch. Though again, not running away from it. I'm going to do it at some point, but this isn't the time. I'm going to be trying to make YouTube content. I think that's a better way for me to be able to play the game, record what I'm doing without feeling the pressure of having an audience, maybe even do some on-camera stuff that's pre-recorded, and then I can make my commentaries. I can kind of have the enjoyment of my hobby and then also produce some creative content. So I think that's going to be the direction that we go in. So now that I've said all that, I do want to take a moment to talk about how this was not a spur of the moment thing that I decided to do, and I mean trying to start streaming. I had been preparing for a reasonable amount of time. I got a new computer. I wanted to see if I could get into streaming because I finally have a computer that's not a potato. My old computer was 11 years old, many generations behind. So now I have a wonderful, wonderful rig that is capable of doing a lot of great stuff. And I said, I should try streaming. But I was preparing for this not just in terms of what I needed to learn how to do technically, but spiritually as well. And I want to talk about religion and games. I'm religious myself, and I engaged in a month-long process of spiritual preparation through a certain daily prayer, a consecration prayer, and I was doing that because I wanted to make sure that I was spiritually prepared and doing this new thing well, since I wanted to make a big commitment to it. But having that negative experience, not during the stream itself. Yes, there were technical difficulties. Yes, I didn't play as well or enjoy it as much, but afterwards, after I had gone to bed, having that intense, I would even say a spiritual feeling of something being wrong, it was really, really strange to me. It was such a clear signal that something about what I had been planning was off. And the whole consecration that I did for those 34 days, it was all about trying to do less of the focus on my own will and focus more on how can I respond to God's will? How can I say yes to God? And I realized the spiritual insight I had, and it grew stronger and stronger as I went through this whole consecration and then the experience I had last night. What I realized was I kept going to God and asking Him to say yes to what I wanted to do, rather than going to Him and asking Him what He wanted me to do and saying yes to that. And it's a very, very simple, basic lesson. Like, what did Mary say? She said yes to God. That's the whole point of the Christian life. But even though I am a theology teacher in my own life, I have to keep learning that lesson. I have to keep recognizing my own lack of humility, my own arrogance, my own inability to really stay focused on how I should be living moment to moment, discerning God's presence, listening to God, trying to say yes to Him, not trying to convince Him to say yes to me. And no, I have a lot of my own spiritual work I need to continue to do. I certainly am a flawed man, and I'm grateful to God for all of the gifts that He has given to me. But this is just something that I have to continue to work on myself, and I don't want to get too much more personal about it. But that's really one of the reasons why I felt so strongly that I need to make some kind of change while still producing creative content, still producing stuff that I wanted to do. So that's where I am. That's what the plan is going ahead, and we'll see if I am saying yes to God or if there's going to be another moment of, uh-oh, I'm trying to get him to say yes to me. That's not good. Regardless of what happens, I do think that it's been a good experience overall. I don't regret anything. And I am grateful for the opportunity to present some of this stuff, hopefully grow an audience to talk about religion in games and talk about some of those other things I mentioned. So thank you very much for listening and have a blessed day. Farewell.